we have about a 300 group that is joining us virtually. So we're glad to have everyone here. And I am very pleased right now to welcome our incoming now chair, Bill Brown.
Denny, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for coming today and being with us virtually as well. I'd like to now call the annual meeting of Downtown Indy, Inc. To order. Denny?
Thank you, Bill. And with the meeting called to order, I want to thank our top tier supporters. We call these members trustees, Downtown Indy trustees, and I'd like to recognize them. And without their commitment, this thing doesn't work. I'd like to recognize the trustee members, AES, Indiana, Eli Lilly, Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield Foundation, and the Indy Star. We also wish to thank some key members, especially our presenting sponsor, JP Morgan Chase, whose sponsorship support today has made this event possible, and thank you, JP Morgan Chase. We are especially appreciative to JP Morgan Chase for once again stepping up to do this, which they have done multiple times, as well as our other event sponsors. We have Ratio, IBEW 481, Pacer Sports and Entertainment, Gershman Partners, and McGowan Insurance Group, and all of our in-kind sponsors as well. Can we show them a round of applause, please? Back to you, Bill.
All right, thanks, Denny. It is indeed an honor for me to serve as the chair of the board of directors of Downtown Indy. The board is extremely talented and committed and a very trusted group of professionals with the downtown's best interest in mind. Just an hour ago, both the governing board of directors and our downtown marketing board held a joint meeting where new members were elected as we embark on another year leading and serving. We thank them all for all who are present, and I also want to thank all the board if they could stand and be recognized if they are in the house. And if we could just give them a round of applause, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Bill. And as past chair, just a couple of remarks from me. You know, as a kid that grew up in the city of Indianapolis, grew up on the Near East Side of the city, having taken the bus to downtown Indianapolis as a kid and having the opportunity to serve in this role, it's quite an honor. But the one thing that I've recognized time and again about our city is that we all recognize so many big things that happen. Most recently, March Madness, great accomplishment, comes together with a lot of people. You're going to hear about some other things today that are big events and big things that have gotten done. But the things that get done by people that you never hear of, you don't see, they do it behind the scenes. We have many of those people in the city of Indianapolis. But there's also all the little things that we can do and we should do that makes Indianapolis unique, special, and makes our downtown what it is. It's every kind word to a visitor. It's everyone coming together to volunteer. It's everyone coming together on a day or two to pick up trash, clean up our city and our downtown. But it's people stepping forward to do all of the little things that make us special. The one thing that we've always had is this city and this downtown comes together to take action and make things happen. And when you reflect on where we've been in the last year, from a year ago to today, it's enormous. We have persevered. There is still a ways to go, but we have persevered and we are pulling through, and we've made enormous progress. Last thought. All of this is supported by Downtown Indy, Inc. The staff and the crew at Downtown Indy, Inc. pulls this together, and we are so blessed to have a city or a group that supports our downtown and our city every single day. They do nothing but support our downtown. So thank you for giving me the honor of serving and having the chance to do this. As a kid that grew up in the city and have this opportunity, it's enormous, and we will do great things going forward. I turn it back to you, Bill.
All right, Denny, well, thank you. First of all, let me say thank you to you, Denny, for taking on the role of chairman this past year. For those of you who don't know, Denny has served in this capacity previously, and it was obviously very generous of you to agree to take on this leadership responsibility again. During this challenging of years, Denny led us through the pandemic as our downtown vacated and helped us stabilize and start us on a path forward. Please join me in thanking Denny for his service to the DII board. It is indeed a pleasure for me to serve as your new chairman of the board. I appreciate, without a doubt, the confidence the board has shown in nominating me for this position. Although a little bit daunting taking on this responsibility during what we all hope will be the last vestiges of this pandemic, I am rather optimistic and even somewhat bullish on what our downtown can in fact achieve. As we celebrate our bicentennial, our downtown has proven to be resilient over its 200 years of existence. Being founded and located in the lowlands adjacent to a White River, we rose from the swamp to become a central destination in the Midwest as the roads and trains found their way to Indianapolis. We thrived at the dawn of the 20th century, becoming a center of commerce and critical thinking, and we soldiered through World War I, the previous pandemic in 1918, the Great Depression, and rebounding after World War II into a thriving metropolis, only to be dashed again by the flight to the suburbs. With the help of the great mayoral and council leadership, coupled with the foresight of our community leaders and organizations, we fought our way back to becoming a national destination for amateur sports and conventions. Our downtown was once again rejuvenated and full of energy. We now face our latest challenge, but like all the times before, we will persevere and succeed once again. We will meet the challenges head on and with our municipal and community leaders, as well as the organization of Downtown Indy, we will craft a plan to re-engage with our downtown and regain the vibrance we had just a very few short years ago. I'm excited to be a part of leading us to our next chapter and appreciate the staff and the organization of Downtown Indy to help us get there. So it is now my pleasure to introduce one of our city's most steadfast leaders and a founding member of the Downtown Indy Board, representing our presenting sponsor, the chairman of J.P. Morgan Chase, Indiana, Mr. Al Smith. Please welcome Al to the podium.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Bill, thank you very much. It is my pleasure to represent the nearly 3,000 J.P. Morgan employees across the great state of Indiana for this timely discussion. Downtown Indianapolis is a very special place. Our community, like many others around the country and the world, have suffered immense hardship and disruption over the past years. It has been remarkable to witness our residents, businesses, and community leaders join forces to support each other and our downtown. We're stronger together, and now more than ever, it's time for us to ensure that downtown emerges equitable and inclusive than ever before. We must meet this moment and take the opportunity to refocus, revitalize, and renew a future that works for all residents. It takes leadership and vision to make an impact, particularly now as we begin to plan for re-emergence. Businesses have a responsibility to step up and help pressing challenges facing our communities and our neighborhoods. J.P. Morgan Chase continues to partner with many of you here, including business leaders, non-for-profit organizations, residents, and our mayor and governor, to help advance equity and build a more inclusive economy. The spring is always a time to celebrate fresh starts, and we're optimistic about what's come to our city. At J.P. Morgan, we have been a staunch supporter of downtown and look forward to continuing to work with you. Now I'd like to introduce a man that needs no introduction, our great mayor, Mayor Joe Hogsett. Mayor Hogsett.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you, Al. It is indeed a pleasure to be with all of you, both in person and virtually today. My thanks to Denny Sponsel and Bill Brown for their leadership, and frankly, my thanks to everyone at Downtown Indy, Inc. for putting this event together safely. And greetings to all of those tuning in via Zoom. What a lifestyle. One of the last times I spoke exclusively to this group was at the January board meeting. Since then, quite a lot has changed. First and foremost, the literal health of our community is in a much better place today than it was immediately after the holiday season. A vaccine is rolling out, leading more and more workers and visitors to feel safe when they do return to downtown. Plus, we had news that the Indianapolis 500 will be held in May with fan attendance. And of course, since that January meeting, as has been mentioned, we played host to the NCAA's Division I men's basketball tournament. It was an unbelievable month. It actually was a little bit longer than a month. When you take into consideration, we also hosted the Horizon League men and women's semifinal and final games, and the entire Big Ten men and women's basketball tournament. One of the payoffs we just celebrated in that great March Madness was to our sports strategy, helmed by people like Jim Morris. I am grateful for the teamwork that went into pulling off one of America's premier events during this enormously challenging time. I know I'll sound a little provincial when I say this, but I think Indianapolis is the only city that could have pulled it off like we did. However, our meeting in person today also speaks of the promise of the weeks and the months to come. The convention center is on track for its 6th expansion of the facility's lifetime. Many of you have noticed a new plaza continues to take shape outside of Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Soon we'll also see development of the former GM stamping plant, thanks to Elanco. Continued progress at Bottle Works, more openings at 16 Tech, further mixed-use development, and the completion of the Community Justice Campus out in the Twin Air neighborhoods, which will free up development around the City-County building and Marion County Jail 2. Keep your eye on Market East and its development over the next few years. Yes, indeed, it has been a year full of challenges. No doubt about that. It's been a year of highs, and it's been a year of lows. But throughout, downtown remained the physical and the emotional center of the city of Indianapolis and of the state of Indiana. The promise we see taking shape today will ensure that downtown continues to be the center of it all. That comes down to the work of a lot of people in this room and to the work of a lot of people who are no longer in this room. For in many ways, we are simply building on the great work of Tamara Zahn, who began with this organization 28 years ago. So my thanks to everything Downtown Indy, Inc., then and now, has done to shepherd the city's first neighborhood through most turbulent of days, among the most turbulent in the 200 years of our city's history. Without question, and again, I'm provincial. Our best days are yet to come. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the MC for the remaining portion of our afternoon, the host of Inside Indiana Business, Mr. Gary Dick.
Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure for me to be here today. And as I was thinking about the event coming down here, I said, you know, I always say it's a pleasure to be at every event I'm at. But I really mean it this time, because there are so many people here and familiar faces. How great it is to be able to interact one-on-one with people we've all known for a long time and to really begin to get back to some normalcy. We certainly thank the 300 or so people who are joining us, our friends on Zoom as well, for this very important event and a discussion around downtown and its importance to not only the region, but I contend for the entire state of Indiana. This afternoon we gather as business leaders, advocates, residents in many cases of downtown, employers, employees of businesses in our downtown area, civic champions, as well as elected officials. You know, there's no doubt about it, these past 14 months have had a dramatic impact in multiple ways on downtown. We continue and have continued to hear words like unprecedented, used over and over again, socially distant, postponements, cancellations, restrictions, civil unrest. The list goes on and on. But we are also witnessing things like resilience, adaptability, pivoting that so many people are doing and companies are doing, as well as recovery. To join me in really kind of helping set the stage for our discussion this afternoon, please join me in welcoming the President and CEO of Downtown Indy, Inc., Sherry Seiwert.
Thank you, Gary. Great to see you. Great to see so many wonderful faces. I can almost tell who you are with your masks on, but thank you for joining us in person, and thank you to all of the folks that are joining us via live stream. It has been an incredibly difficult year. We all know. We also all know that downtown has been disproportionately impacted as a result of the pandemic, of all of the civil unrest. And so I think we have come a very long way. Even through this difficult past year, we have so much to look forward to. I know that we're going to talk a little bit about that later today, but you know, I'm full of optimism as we talk about a rebound. We're starting to definitely see great signs in our downtown.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Sherry. And you know, for me, and the mayor mentioned March Madness, for me, I began to get some of that enthusiasm, I think, kind of being around some of the games, but also witnessing the images of downtown Indianapolis, people downtown again on TV, and the national coverage, the national spotlight on Indianapolis. I think that was very positive. And I think it's important, Sherry, as we begin the conversation, to really look back, to take a snapshot of Indianapolis pre-pandemic.
Sure.
You know, how things were before the pandemic happened.
Yeah, you know, when 2020 started, in thinking back, it was not unlike any year of the last 10 years. Significant investment in developments in downtown, a lot of buzz beginning of last year about hotels that were under construction or being announced, so many great conventions and events that were going to be rolled out throughout the year. The workforce numbers continue to climb. We're at 155,000 employees. The vibrancy of downtown was at an all-time record high as folks gathered by the hundreds and even by the thousands. And we had just launched our downtown agenda that was a way of, we had identified priorities, and so we were looking to take a deeper dive into solutions surrounding those priorities.
Yeah, and I think we all remember the pandemic hit right in the middle of the Big Ten men's basketball championship, and I know you remember it well. What happened and how did you respond?
You know, the pandemic quickly shifted us into a new reality, as it did for everyone, right? Everything shut down for what we thought was going to be 2 to 3 weeks, so that we would flatten the curve. Businesses were forced to shut down. They were still trying to understand what the rules were and what they couldn't do, and they were trying to quickly pivot. And it all became clear that this was going to take a while. So Downtown launched its e-marketing campaigns appropriate for the lockdown. We engaged with local restaurants, most of our downtown stakeholders, just to communicate how their business models were shifting and how we could communicate that out to the rest of the city. So, you know, as we all also reflect how uncomfortably quiet it was initially. And so when we came downtown, there was just no foot traffic, there was no vehicular traffic, but we did see our street ambassadors who continued to work every single day throughout the pandemic to keep our streets clean.
Yeah, and then just as some retailers, in fact, some restaurants were beginning to open back up, there was that weekend that I don't think any of us will forget.
Yes. Downtown, like many cities, experienced the civil unrest, the violence associated with that. Certainly one of the most devastating weekends for our city as well as our downtown. We had more than 100 businesses impacted, and most of them had boarded up.
Yeah, and throughout the next several weeks, in fact, there were peaceful protests, peaceful demonstrations as well. And as those things unfolded, I think they helped to spark some important and some timely discussions around racial inequities, diversity, and inclusion as well.
Yes, you know, there were more than 100 demonstrations, peaceful gatherings, and not one of them were there any incidents, so incident-free. It was during that time that we launched our Downtown Recovery Committee, because so many of our downtown stakeholders had voiced that they felt the need to do something. So Downtown Indy put together a Downtown Recovery Committee that set priorities around 3 pillars. Those included safe and secure, with the city's investment of additional $750,000 in funding for additional public safety in our downtown for our downtown foot and bike patrol, as well as we were able to launch our safety ambassador program. So we have 4 safety ambassadors now that walk our downtown sidewalks every day, or in the second set of eyes and ears for IMPD. We also had a committee around clean and welcoming, with community cleanups. Many of you probably participated in one of those cleanups, and it was the idea was to get folks downtown to play a part. Everybody wanted to do something for downtown, so we structured a number of those cleanups, and it was great to see everyone, and it also provided just additional foot traffic for our downtown restaurants. And we also launched our Back Downtown campaign. And then the third committee was really about making sure that people knew that downtown was open. So how do we get all the boards down? Do we need to provide assistance to some of those restaurants that might not have gotten insurance? How do we message out just that Back Downtown is open and ready for business?
Such an Indianapolis thing for so many people to come together, to volunteer, to support, to get things back on track. Sherry, kind of painful in a sense to look back, but important to do so. Now as we look forward, there are a lot of things going on. There really are. Many businesses, not all, but businesses are beginning to open back up. People are workers are beginning to come back downtown, and plans really are unfolding around the resurgence of downtown Indianapolis. Give us a sneak peek maybe at what's ahead.
Sure. You know, as more people get vaccinated, you know, as you said, we're starting, I continually tell folks, it's incrementally getting better, and it truly is. Every week we see more cars downtown. I see more cars in the parking lots. I see more folks in our downtown, and we hear from employers that some of their workforce is continuing to return. And so we think that, you know, by the holiday of July 5th, we'll see a significant number of employees returning back to the workforce. And so I think that that's great news. Of the downtown projects that are underway that were completed in 2020, We had 14 of them that were residential, as well as another 19 projects that were mixed use. Total development cost of $405 million, which was great during a pandemic year. The return of events that has, certainly the NCAA that was mentioned, has helped to buoy our hospitality industry with a strong pipeline of events holding steady for third and fourth quarters of this year. And so I think hope is on the horizon. I heard the mayor talk about key projects for us to look forward to: the convention center expansion and hotel on Pan Am Plaza, the Elanco headquarters that was announced for GM stamping plant, as well as the what's going on at 16 Tech. We're very excited about the launch of a number of those activities, and Bottle Works. If you haven't been to Bottle Works, you need to go. It is wonderful that phase 1 is completed, and we look forward to phase 2 of that project. So, it's just, there's a lot of buzz related to, I'm starting to see more leases get signed on vacant spaces in downtown, which is another great sign. So all of this is outlined in our 2021 community report that is being electronically sent to all of you who registered for this event today. So thanks to our partners again with JP Morgan Chase.
So a lot going on, and some transformational projects that have been talked about for a long time actually are happening. It's very exciting. Sherry, it's like you're on the show. You condensed all that information into a very short period of time. So thanks for that great report. A strong downtown is critical. I think we'd all agree to many stakeholders whose organizations and business success really is reliant on a healthy and strong downtown. Please take a look.
2020 was an incredibly challenging year for all of tourism and sports tourism in particular as well. We were March of 2020, literally heading into the second day of the men's Big Ten basketball tournament when the first of what ended up being several dominoes fell in our event calendar. But it was a challenge for us to figure out how to survive financially and really how to continue to live our mission. We talked a lot as a team. Our mission is to advance and inspire our community through sports. That didn't change when the pandemic showed up. That was still our mission. We suffered just like everyone else suffered. The hospitality industry has 80,000 plus people that work in it. At one point was greater than 50% unemployment rate. And so that's devastating to the people in our community. And it was very important to us to find a safe way back so they could go return to work.
The pandemic has the impact has been devastating on our arts and cultural community, on our organizations, on individual artists, and on audiences, on those that have been missing those experiences.
Our typical ridership was averaging a little over 16,000 riders a day, sometimes upwards of 24,000 if conventions and things of that nature were in town. But when COVID hit, what we saw was, one, a request from our stakeholders to continue providing the public transit system, which showed we were an essential fabric piece of this city.
We've been through some challenging times, an economic crisis, a health crisis, a global pandemic, as well as a national reckoning on race. But we are in a resurgence downtown. We just hosted the NCAA championships. There were people from all over the country gathered, and we did that safely. We did that in a way that really set an example. And I think our downtown businesses, restaurants, all kinds of establishments are starting to open up again.
It's extremely important for our fans and team owners for us to get back up to speed. We know a lot about speed around here, and we know a lot about, unfortunately, part of racing is failure, part of racing is challenges. That's part of sports. But anyone who's engaged in any type of sport, especially racing, knows it's important to fix the car and get back at it. And that's the only way you're going to win. You're not going to win sitting in the pits. And as Roger Penske will tell you, his expectation is to go, faster, harder, and more proficient every day, because that's the only way you're going to find victory.
I'm a person who lives downtown, who works downtown, who sells downtown. All three of the above. And interestingly enough, in the world that I've worked in for the last 27 years, in some ways it's a commodity business. You sell a bunch of boxes. You fly into a box, you get into an Uber box, you travel to your hotel box, you check into that box. Then you walk into your convention center box and you have meetings in that box. And boxes are hard to differentiate. So you really have to have a product around that box that makes things exciting. We have a downtown that makes you feel like you're not in another city's convention center that might be on the outskirts of downtown where there's not a lot of infrastructure around it. When you go to Lucas Oil Stadium or the Indiana Convention Center or Bankers Life Fieldhouse or any of the big venues downtown or the big hotels, there are so many restaurants and pubs and retailers and attractions in walking distance, and that's really the big differentiator for Indianapolis.
I mean, when you think about the development that continues to push the boundaries of downtown, Bottle Works has certainly completed their phase 1, getting ready to execute on their second phase, so that will include residential, office space. They certainly have the food hall that has opened up, the hotel that's opened up, the movie theater, so tremendous space and has seen tremendous growth. And then if you think about 16 Tech, they're certainly, they've hit the ground running, so they have a number of buildings that are either opening or at least shovel ready. And then on the south side, we're seeing a significant change. When you think about the hotels that have opened up in the old south side, and there's a number of developments, including multifamily units that are proposed for the south side, and then of course the old GM stamping plant with Elanco and the announcement with that development. So we have great stories to tell.
The optimism and what we see going forward, we're going to see so many new outdoor experiences in arts and culture come online here in the next few weeks, and have those experiences. I think it's part of our new reality going forward, is just the appreciation of being able to gather outside and inside. But this is going to give us an important bridge as we come back together.
Well, we think there's some explicit advantages to being located in an urban center. This was certainly true pre-COVID, and I think it holds true post-COVID, and I'm confident that we'll see it pay dividends as we kind of return to some sense of normalcy.
What we've learned during the pandemic is that we have quite some disparities around small business ownership, and especially the impact of the current crisis on Black-owned businesses. So I think as we look at our landscape, we know that entrepreneurs of color face barriers in the marketplace. And in this moment where we're more aware of what those challenges are, we can be more intentional about providing support. That diversity enriches our community. It makes us stronger. It certainly makes our city more attractive to the residents and to our outside guests.
As you can see, the city is going through a lot of rebirth. We're building a lot of infrastructure down here, and we will be continuing to build infrastructure. Our goal is to deliver the next bus rapid transit line. We don't see ourselves as just the 60-foot bus provider or the 40-foot bus provider. We are in the business of moving people.
We are in fierce competition with other geographies. And one of the things I love about Indy is that we have a really unfettered level of ambition around what tables we should be seated at. At least in my circles, we're not frequently discussing how we stay on par with Cleveland and Columbus and Cincinnati. The conversation quickly turns to how do we outcompete with Nashville and Austin and Boulder and Seattle. And I think it's that very ambition that positions the city well for the future, because you can't just get to a place where we're better than or more successful than our neighbors to the left and right. We constantly have to be thinking about, how we move the ball forward and how we compete with the best cities in the world.
When you talk about our city and our downtown, it is competitive. I'm involved in a lot of professional associations. I do a lot of mentoring. It is a competitive market to get the best and brightest of this country to come to your city, to work for your companies, to be a part of your community. And we want that. We want America's best and brightest. We have to get back up to speed to get ourselves prepared to be that place, that destination that folks want to come and live and work and provide their talent and their treasure from our city, because that's going to make everything better. It's going to provide a lift.
Downtown is vibrant, it's diverse.
Public art.
Resilient.
Exciting.
Downtown is for everyone.
Downtown is back, and it will be better than ever.
Indianapolis downtown is the heart of this city. It's the engine that drives the state. And for it to get back up to speed means the state getting back up to speed, and meaning that we're all going to basically be able to receive the victory together.
Yeah, great video. Well, joining me now on stage, some of the great people you just saw in that video. Please join me in welcoming to the stage, joining Sherry and me, Inez Evans, Julie Goodman, Leonard Hoops, Jimmy McMillan, and Una Osili. Okay, we're going to back and forth a few questions, kind of expand a little bit on what we've been talking about so far, but we talk about downtown coming back, a resurgence. What specific signs are you seeing that this actually is happening? Anybody can jump in. Leonard, I'm going to throw it to you because it struck me you said you work downtown, live downtown, sell downtown. So you've got the whole package there. So what are you seeing specifically that people should say, yeah, things are on the way back?
Well, I think we all have our own little leading indicators of what constitutes a recovery. I live on Mass Ave, and so that doesn't seem to have gone anywhere in the last year. That seems the same pretty much the whole time, but you can tell in the downtown core that that's a different thing. A late-breaking stat Matt Carter from our team just shared with me earlier this week that last Saturday night, we sold the 9th most rooms in the history of Central Indiana ever. Wow. This is, yeah. I know the mayor appreciates that and the CIB appreciates that. But what's crazy about that is there was nothing specifically huge. What there was a mix of stuff. There were like 3 youth groups in the convention center. There was stuff in Grand Park that was pushing compression down to the north part of Marion County and southern Hamilton County. I was at an event at the Marriott Hotel this afternoon with a client we're going to be hosting in 2022, in large part because of the NCAA tournament. And the GMs were telling us that they were getting 75 and 80 people walking in and getting reservations that day on Saturday. So to me, that was just a crazy sign of recovery. Now, middle of the week sometimes it's pretty light still, so we're in a transition period. But I think in general, when we look at indicators like what's the hotel occupancy and the rates and all these sorts of things, those are definitely starting to come back.
Indianapolis, we talked about March Madness. I believe that the way Indianapolis hosted March Madness is going to result in future business and things coming back. There's another little event coming up next month out on West 16th Street. And Jimmy, 40% capacity, right? And that's going to total 135,000 people, the largest event to be held since the pandemic happened. The eyes of the world really are going to be on Indy for the race anyway, but I think even more so, a lot of other people looking to see if Indy can pull it off again. Talk about that whole aspect and how you think things are going to roll next month.
Thank you. First, I want to say that we are very grateful for the ability to have the event and to be what I believe will be at least one of the largest sporting events to be held since COVID-19. We take that responsibility very seriously, and we're going to make sure that it is a safe event and making sure that every precaution we could possibly take is done. Our leadership is phenomenal. If you know any of the folks over there, Roger Penske is our captain, and he is all about making sure that everything is done up to his standard, which is excellence. And I'm sure that this will be nothing short of that, along with Mark Miles and Allison. We have people who know how to have big events. They've done it in this city for a long time. And I think we can all be very confident in the type of event that we're going to have, and it's going to be a safe event. We're super excited to be able to welcome back fans to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Indy 500, we feel like the eyes of the world are always on us, and we always perform and live up to standard. And that's what we're going to do at the 105th running of the Indianapolis 500. So those of you who are not able to be there, you're going to enjoy a wonderful show in front. But those who come, you're going to have a fantastic event, and that event will be done in a way that we think will bring the city even more pride, similar to the events that we've had in the past. The big symbol that I see is there are people that want to come. People are starting to feel safe. Many people are being vaccinated. We are still offering vaccinations, and I would encourage you to visit the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and get vaccinated. I am vaccinated, but people want to be back engaged and be back around one another and are starting to say, I feel safe enough to go. And I think that's the biggest signal that downtown is ready to resurge and come back.
Yeah, people coming back downtown, Julie, I'll start with you, because Una, I know you talked about that in the video, but talk about Indianapolis being a welcoming downtown, being a welcoming environment to everybody. And I know that there were some things during March Madness I know you were involved with that I think kind of hit on that, but talk a little bit about that, being an inclusive downtown.
Sure. Well, I think the mayor said it so beautifully. I mean, downtown is the center of our city, of our community. It's the heart and soul of who we are as Indianapolis and the heart of our state. And I think we represented that so beautifully in March, and I think that was also such an important signal of recovery. I mean, to see the intention and thoughtfulness and care and carefulness that was taken in extending those invitations and inviting our visitors and community back to downtown. But we also know that while I know we all believe that downtown is for everyone, we know that everyone does not feel welcome always downtown. That is not true for everyone. I was sharing with Bob that I was recently, and a number of us here were part of listening sessions of community members talking about our public spaces and how they feel welcome or not in our public spaces. And it was eye-opening to listen to that and to understand the amount of work that we need to do as a community. But I think what we also saw in March and what we demonstrate over and over again as a city is that we have the capability to do that. We can come together and make that change and extend those inclusive invitations, and we do that with visitors all the time. And I think if we take that same intention and effort and thoughtfulness and bring that to our own community, we can make some real change. And we're doing that. A number of civic partners right now are engaged in an assessment, a diversity, equity, inclusion assessment, self-assessment. There are 9 of us that are doing this because we know that we have deep work to do ourselves, and we need to do that work, but we are interested in doing that together to understand where we can influence and support our sectors in that work and where we can move forward faster and more effectively together. So we're grateful for that opportunity.
Yep, the downtown business community obviously is a very important part of the economic engine of central Indiana. And Una, you kind of mentioned in the video the disproportionate effects on minority-owned businesses, black-owned businesses, and others. Talk about that and maybe some things that can be done to make sure everybody is involved in this resurgence and recovery.
Great question, and maybe step back a bit. We just got recent data from the Commerce Department that shows that GDP growth this quarter outpaced sort of expectations. The recovery seems to be underway, and here in central Indiana, we're seeing GDP growth, but also employment numbers increase. But if you peel back the layers, you'll see that it's a very uneven recovery. While some sectors are doing well, not all sectors are recovering at the same pace. So this is an opportunity for us to pay attention to the sectors that perhaps aren't doing as well, the service economy, some retail businesses, and then to look by race. That is a statistic that certainly caught my attention, that Black-owned businesses were 41% more likely to be shut down and not reopen when things reopen. So let's look at what business sectors, but also by race and ethnicity and gender, to see whether there are disproportionate impacts on Black-owned businesses, on minority-owned businesses. I am very fortunate to live downtown, and we've also seen in the pandemic that residents have really leaned into buying local, supporting local businesses. And so this is an opportunity for us to support those local businesses. On our Nextdoor app, there are lots of residents who are always looking for ways to reinvest in our local economy. I think we can build on that and build back stronger.
And as public transportation obviously is an important part of any vibrant city, talk about, if you will, how public transportation is going to play a role going forward, coming out of the pandemic. You mentioned a few things that you have going on and have had going on for the last number of months. Talk a little bit about that and why public transportation is and will be an important part of the equation.
Great question, and thank you for having us here tonight. You know, it's important that you have a robust transportation system in order for all of its residents and visitors to experience all of the unique opportunities that our great city has to offer. I mean, it's a very well-designed downtown, but there are things you need to do to get on the public transportation. Everyone, not everyone, but there's a large number of individuals who work at all of the hotels and the venues. They ride public transportation. Our numbers are starting to come back. Guess what? Because the businesses are coming back. Riders are coming. So it's important so we can provide services during all of the hours that these functions are taking place. And to have a system that is efficient and frequent. That's why the bus rapid transit lines are so integral to our city. The Marion County voters voted on this back in 2016. 60% of Marion County voters said, yes, we want better public transportation. And Indigo's role right now is to move that forward. The next line that we're looking to do is the Purple Line, and we found out today we can start putting our paperwork into the FTA to move that project forward.
That's good, a little breaking news there this afternoon. But I think that's interesting. You say that the ridership is beginning to come back, so that's another indicator maybe that downtown, again, coming back to life.
Exactly, where I think it is a credit to this city and to its employers. When we received phone calls from employers saying, please don't stop the transit system. We need to be able to get our workers here and you are our only way. That was so important because it stressed the essentialness of public transportation. Other transit systems across the country are seeing still to this day a 60 and 70% decline on ridership, where Indianapolis is experiencing about a 26 to 30% decline in ridership. We are on the higher end of the curve. And every time we bring one of those conventions in or we have a public, that statistic improves every single time. So it is essential that our services connect to all of the events and experiences and that we continue to just provide the best service we possibly can.
Yeah. Sherry, any perspective you can add? You know, Indianapolis obviously is not alone among cities facing enormous challenges for the past 14 months and challenges coming out of this. Any your colleagues, folks in other cities, can you compare how Indianapolis is doing relative to others?
I do have the ability to talk with my colleagues around the country on a biweekly basis. And so when we compare notes, it is fascinating to me that we are heads above other cities as far as our resiliency and our progress to move forward. And I mean, so many cities still say that they are completely shut down. Their downtowns feel like a ghost town. And so, you know, I'm delighted with, you know, where we are in our progress to reopen. So I have a question for our panelists, one that kind of sort of keeps me up at night. And actually one of our board members somewhat posed it to me. When you think about behavioral changes with the workforce and it becoming hybrid for a number of companies, how do we make downtown more interesting than their living room or basement so that they want to come downtown? So any panelists want to jump in and answer that?
I live downtown, so, I mean, I live pretty close to downtown, so I loved it. And I will tell you, one of the favorite things that you did was to close down portions of Mass Ave and have more outdoor seating. So complete streets design would be something that I would love to see more of, where families can engage more actively in the street landscape and maybe play games and have interactive activities in the middle. As a resident, that's what I would love.
And Sherry, I'm hoping we can continue our partnership with Swish Indy and what happened in March and with so many partners, but I think we saw the power of artists and arts and culture being able to bring people back together, and that there's such we've been missing that so much. And so I think the opportunity to continue the momentum that was created in March with the visual artists, with over 650 performing artists throughout the city, and taking that out, just continuing that is going to be a really important part, as well as reopening our arts and cultural experiences. So just being here today is such an important signal of recovery, and we're just so grateful to you and to the ISO for having this event here today.
Sherry, I'm proud to say that in addition to being the lawyer for the track, I'm actually the president of the largest motorcycle club in the state, 317 Riders, and we love coming downtown. Motorcycle riders still love the Circle, and we still, when we're allowed, we still take over the Circle because it's home. And I think that's a big part of it. There's home, but there's downtown home. And the reality is, I think we're going to find out when you talk to business leaders, a lot of people say, well, now businesses are going to realize that their workers are more efficient at home. We've been back at work full time since June, and I was glad to come back to work. There are things that you just can't get at home. I'm worried about people in mentorship. I'm worried about people and their engagement in succession plans. I think some folks are going to realize that they missed that opportunity to go to lunch with a partner or to go to coffee with a colleague. Practice development and learning how to advertise and market and network, all of those things are going to be important. And downtown is the facilitator of all of that business commerce, and people are going to realize. You got to realize, last year you were at home because there was nothing to do. When there was a sunny day, we were all scared to go anywhere. Stores were closed, restaurants were closed, and there was a fear to go out. Now, you're sitting at home, and while you're at home, other people are making moves. Other people are having dinner, other people are having lunches, other people are going to restaurants. And if you are sitting at home, you are missing out on opportunities to grow your professional career. So I think downtown just needs to be ready for what is naturally going to occur, which is folks coming back and conducting business in the downtown of Indianapolis.
Yep. Well said, indeed. When we talk about home, downtown has become home over the years for so many more people. Downtown living is big part of the equation. Inez, I know you live close to downtown. Leonard and Una, you both live downtown. I'd be interested, and Leonard, I'll start with you. What are your neighbors saying about how things are and where things may be headed?
And there's obviously a lot of crossover between wanting to live downtown and choosing to visit downtown if you don't live here. When you live downtown, a lot of the factors are things like walk score. I can walk to Needler's grocery store or Whole Foods. My dentist is across the street. My kids have school 3 blocks away, those sorts of things. The visiting downtown, kind of go back to what Sherry was asking and how you're putting it, I still think comes back to just downtown being downtown. When you start having things at the Repertory Theater and the Symphony Orchestra and the Pacers, have more fans and capacity and the Colts, if you're a resident on the north side of Indianapolis or in Hamilton County, it's really easy to go to Harry and Izzy's on 82nd Street as opposed to on downtown if all you want is Harry and Izzy's. But if there is a symphony performance to see, if there is maybe somebody wants to come down and as a local wants to hang out at Gen Con, those sorts of things, when those things come back, and they are starting to, then to Jimmy's point, you'll actually see the people start showing up because you've got to differentiate it in that way. I think in general, living in a condo building on the 300 block of Mass Ave, you talk to your neighbors and things like that, that's what they're waiting for too. Mm-hmm. They want the same things that drew them to want to live there in the first place to come back so they could take advantage of it and walk to a game. I mean, I worked in the convention center office today. I drove back home, parked my car and walked here. And that's one of the reasons you live and work downtown is the convenience of that. So I just think downtown needs to be downtown.
Yep. Una, what are you hearing from your neighbors?
Our neighborhoods downtown are assets for our city. I would encourage downtown Indy to tap into the energy of those residents. They have time, many of them, talent, as Jimmy said, and also treasure. And increasingly, they have a voice. They can be part of the marketing, the messaging, getting the word out that downtown is the place to be. So I think we need to encourage all of us to lean into our communities, our neighborhoods, our residents, and use the talents, the assets that those neighborhoods have to help propel downtown Indy to be the city of the future. As we said, we have global aspirations for Indianapolis. So this is the time to build back and build back better.
We're up against time, but I'll end it on one final question. I think everyone here, everyone in our virtual audience wants to come back downtown. They've either started to or certainly they want to. I'll throw it open to anyone who wants to answer this one, but to everybody who's saying, hey, I want to come back downtown, what should they look forward to when they come back downtown? What's going to be there for them when they come back to this great downtown area? I'll throw it open to anyone who wants to take that one.
I'm happy to start. For arts and culture, I mean, we're going to see experiences like this. So we're going to see more and more opportunities to be in person with a hybrid option in some cases as we ease back in, but we're going to start to see a number of opportunities to be in person with virtual opportunities, in-person reduced capacity. We're going to see a lot of opportunities to engage in arts and culture outside, including a lot of new venues. So there were some really entrepreneurial organizations that started this last summer, and we're going to see more and more of that as we move into the spring. So we're going to be 60% open as a sector by June. We're going to be 90% open by September. We're looking forward to a really dynamic, full Indy arts and culture season in the fall and winter and into next year.
Anyone else, final word?
I would like to say you're going to see a very clean city. I think some of you came down maybe after some of the protests that happened this summer. You came down and maybe you were a little discomforted by billboards and poster boards that were up over windows. That's not the case now, thanks to some of the wonderful artwork that is displayed around the city. I think you're going to be shocked at how clean and beautiful downtown is. At night, when you look at the IPL building, there's been nights where there have been really powerful images on that building displaying the history of the city, displaying the history of our country, and you'll be inspired by a lot of those things. But one thing you'll find is people. The canal the other day, we had a great 80-degree day, and the canal was safe but adequately packed with people who were exercising, working out, enjoying our beautiful, beautiful canal. I was just in the Skyline building, and I was looking out over the city, and I was just thinking how proud I am to have been developed and groomed and to have grown and to have children growing up in the city of Indianapolis. This is really a beautiful place to live, and I think that we all want to get back downtown and come back downtown because it's our downtown and it is our home. So if you haven't been back, it's okay. Put your mask on, put your sanitizer on, come down, it's safe, and enjoy your city because this is what we all work hard for. And it's going to be here for a long time, so come back.
I think that's a great way to end our discussion. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here today and for your continued leadership for our great city. Thanks very much. Well, we are going to conclude our meeting today with two very special, very important elements. As we just discussed, the strength of downtown comes from inspired leadership, and how fortunate we are in Indianapolis to have had inspired leadership, not only currently, but for many years in the past. To share a special reflection, please welcome back to the stage the immediate past president of Downtown Indy, Inc., Denny Sponsel.
Thank you, Gary. So in 2020, we lost one of our great champions for downtown Indianapolis, Tamara Zahn. Tamara was an inspiring leader. She was the founding leader of Indianapolis Downtown Inc. in 1993 and was president of Indianapolis Downtown Inc. until 2012. And you know, as sad as that is for us, I know Tamara right now would be cheering, "You go downtown Indianapolis, you go downtown Indy Inc." right now. That's what she would be saying. Yes, it's sad for us. We had a wonderful memorial for her on the Circle that couldn't have gone any better. It was a perfect day. It was about her downtown, and it really sent a message. It just couldn't have been any more important. You know, her smile stood out. A few days before Tamara passed away, she was right downtown in true Tamara style, collar up, 6 foot tall, great smile, and she was helping me and many other community leaders clean up our downtown. She was all about downtown. There was no one more passionate about downtown than Tamara Zahn. She lived it, she breathed it. When I moved my business downtown, first person I called was Tamara, and I said I'd like to meet sometime. The next day, she was over with 3 of her colleagues and sitting with me, and I think I wrote a check too. So she did her job well, and she always did. But she was always inspiring everyone to support downtown. If there was ever a meeting about downtown, Tamara was going to be there. She led it better than anyone else. Her passion, her smile, her care, and her care about people, and her care about Indianapolis. You know, I was going to end this by saying, as sad as this is, maybe we as community leaders, civic leaders, business leaders, can have a moment of silence. But I'm choosing to ask all of you, can we just take a moment to smile? Because that's what Tamara would want us to do, and smile. And I'll guarantee you, all of you in this room, as well as all of you at home, are going to think about Tamara and that smile. And I think that's the way she would want to be remembered, and I think that's the way we would remember her. Thank you, everyone. Gary?
Well done, Denny. Thanks very much. You know, Tamara truly was a civic champion for downtown and the inaugural recipient of the Downtown Indianapolis Champion Award presented to her by Downtown Indy, Inc. shortly after she left the role of president. You know, over the past 27 years, leaders have emerged like Tamara who have championed ideas and ideals to move downtown forward. We're inspired by their example for being a champion for downtown. The Downtown Champion Award was established in 2013. It was established to really recognize people with the highest honor bestowed by Downtown Indy, Inc. The award honors and recognizes individuals for leading or creating that which will have a lasting impact on downtown residents, on workers, and visitors as well. The award recipient should be someone who has championed significant change for downtown, someone who has helped positively shape the local, regional, and national reputation of downtown Indianapolis as well. Past recipients, a great list, not only include Tamara Zahn, but Brian Payne, Mayor Bill Hudnut, Mel and Herb Simon, founding Downtown Indy board members Al Smith, Bob Reynolds, and Jerry Semler, as well as Mayor Steve Goldsmith. This year's recipient certainly falls squarely in the good company of those who've been awarded this honor before. Mr. Jim Morris is Vice Chair of Pacer Sports and Entertainment, and his history with our city and downtown is truly unparalleled. To share his thoughts and to accept the award on his behalf, please welcome a former recipient of the award, Mr. Jerry Semler.
Thank you, Gary. It's a pleasure for me to comment and accept the award for Jim Morris. He's been a good friend for years. He's a visionary. You know, after graduating from IU, he worked briefly with American Fletcher and then went with Dick Lugar as chief of staff. And then while he was there, he encouraged Dick. And you know, Dick was a very conservative, watched his dollars or pennies, but to build Market Square Arena, that kind of set the tone for the rebirth of our downtown. And other cities around the state, like Fort Wayne, Evansville, have moved their sporting facilities in the downtown. But Jim was a visionary there and then left Dick and then went with Lilly Endowment as community affairs. That was a great move for the city and for Lilly Endowment because he worked real hard on coming up the vision of the expansion of the convention center. He was very involved in the convention business. His good friend Bill McGowan, they worked hard together. And when you see what we've accomplished with all the hotels, and so it's, and now, you know, he's a very caring person, cares about the city, the downtown, cares about people. He's very involved supporting Gleaners, Second Helpings, and you all know, maybe for the newer people here in the community, he was with the World Food Bank over in Rome for 5 years, and came back and got involved. Herb offered him a place just to, and a secretary just to get involved with the city again. And so since then, he's been involved with UNICEF. He's under President Trump, he was appointed U.S. representative at UNICEF. But again, he cares about people and feeding people. Now, Jim is a trustee of IU, a big IU. His kids have gone there. Some people are kind of surprised here. I'm a Purdue family. How we've been friends for over 45 years, because we go to each other's games, and win or lose, whoever loses congratulates the other in about 2 words, and then we move on. So he's always thinking he's going to get some of our grandkids to go to IU, but most of them have been going up north. And right now, this fall, we'll have 9 grandchildren at Purdue, and Mitch said we'd like to have a few more, so I don't know. But anyway, he's a great visionary and a very caring person, and I'm sorry he couldn't be here today to accept this award that Sherry is presenting, because under doctor's orders, he became sick yesterday and he was supposed not to go out. So I'll accept this on behalf of Jim and his family. Thank you, Sherry.
Jerry, thank you very much for those great remarks, and certainly congratulations to Jim, who's, as we all know, has had such an indelible mark on Indianapolis and our state as well. Well, we've heard a great deal about the opportunities before us, and certainly appreciate your interest in the state of downtown. My job is to follow things going on downtown and around the state, but I'll tell you, I heard some things today that give me even more optimism and reason to be excited about the rebirth, the resurgence, if you will, of downtown Indianapolis. As a reminder, the 2021 community report from downtown Indy will be in your inbox very shortly. And we thank you again, our sponsors, for making the event possible today. And we encourage you to support those sponsors and all of our downtown restaurants and retailers until and after they are back up to speed as well. Thank you for inviting me to be part of the event today, and for all you do to make downtown really one of the best places in the United States to live, work, and visit. For those gathered here, we invite you to enjoy each other's company at our outdoor reception just across the circle. Compliments of our friends at Sunken Brewery, West Fork Whiskey, and the best chocolate in town. So it'll be a very tasty event across the street. Thank you, too, to everyone who joined us virtually today. We hope to see more and more of you as the year unfolds. Now go out and make it a great day and a great week. Thank you.